Hello, everybody. I want to give a little update on what's been going on, and I got to say, this has definitely been one of the craziest times in our lives. Just bonkers. The quick update is that our house did not burn down. So I just want to say that right out of the gate for anybody that was still sort of holding their breath about that, and I'll get into more details about that, like how close it really got. But man, this has been a crazy time. So we left Vermont almost 3 weeks ago, and this time we were going to drive, and we like to spend a chunk of time during the winter in California just to kind of warm up a little bit and enjoy beautiful Topanga. And this, now we have our wonderful doggy Max, and so we thought we'd drive so Max could come with us. And it's a leisurely sort of road trip kind of drive. So we took our time driving across and stopped and did fun stuff along the way. And if you hadn't heard about this along the way, I did an Instagram post. I think I shared a post with my wife, with Grace. One of the places that we stopped along the way was New Orleans for New Year's Eve, and we were staying a half a block off of Bourbon Street, right near the intersection where this horrible thing happened, right at the corner of Toulouse and Bourbon Street. We went out that night and were in that intersection, and we had Sagan and Max with us, and nobody else. And so if your parents, like occasionally you try and like just grab these moments when your kid is asleep, but it's like a race against time, because in this case our son is in a hotel room by himself with our dog Max, which helps a little bit. So there's at least some familiar critter in the room with him if he wakes up. But like if he wakes up, he'll just be traumatized because he's in this room by himself. It's not really a familiar place for him. It's like, where's dad? Like, where's mom? What's going on? And so it's sort of a gamble, and you just kind of grab moments, tiny little moments, when you can. And this was one of those moments. So we snuck out just before midnight, and he was fast asleep, and he generally sleeps great. So we went out and hung out a little bit, and saw some fireworks and had our sort of New Year's moment. And then we were walking back, and I was the one that was like, man, I want to see Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve, because Bourbon Street is insane on any given Wednesday night, let alone New Year's Eve. So I just had to see the spectacle of it. And so we went, to that corner at about midnight and had another sort of like, woohoo, Happy New Year's, blah, blah, blah moment. And then we're like, okay, we got to go back because our kid's going to wake up and he'll be traumatized if we're not there. So we went back inside, and it was very fortunate because, this thing happened just a few hours after that. And it wasn't particularly dramatic for us because we were asleep when this happened, and it didn't wake us up. And we just heard about it the next morning, that this horrific terror attack had happened that night. And so then, we were going to move on and start our drive for the day. We'd drive, typically about 8 hours each day, make our way across the country. And so we're packing up and stuff. We got to the point I was trying to get stuff to the car. And then as I'm trying to get out the hotel to take stuff for our car, they said, you can't go outside. They just detonated a bomb. And so they've just like locked everybody in the hotel. You can't go out on the street. It's too dangerous. And so that was super crazy. And fortunately, there was a sort of a secret exit onto a different street that we could take. And so the owner of the hotel let us go out that way, and we made our way to our car, and we were able to, start driving for the rest of the day. So we had that along the way. Just, barely missing, being subjected to a terrorist attack. So then, we drove the rest of the way. We did a bunch of other really fun stuff and visited with some friends and whatever. And finally made it to Topanga really late on Sunday night, January 5th. So we drove, for I guess about 8 days from the 28th all the way to the 5th. And finally got home super late. We all slept. The next day, we were still just had a super lazy day, just happy to be finally in our home. I actually took Monday to kind of go around and run some errands, pick up some things for what I want to do here while I'm in California. I'll talk about that a little bit. And then we got our son enrolled in school. And so we did just kind of this, busy sort of errand type stuff on Monday, and started to just kind of get settled. And then the next day, Tuesday, our son went to school, although they will relocate his school. Like his elementary school is walking distance from where we live in Topanga, but when they have these red flag warnings, because it's going to be super windy, they relocate the school to a different location, because these fires, as we have just seen, they can burn so fast when it's super windy that it could be impossible to get all those kids out of the school on time, or in time to get everybody out safely. So we took him to this other location. He'd never been to this place before. We were kind of nervous about that. It's like we're bouncing between two different schools, and now the school's in a totally different location. Like, hopefully he's going to be able to adapt to all of this. And that went great. He did awesome. We got there. Some of the kids that he had made friends with the previous year recognized him. They're all, "Yay, Sagan's here!" He had a great beginning to the school day. So then, Mom and I go back to our house, and all of a sudden, these emergency alerts start going off on our phone. Maybe a couple hours after we dropped him off at school, and turns out, this fire just started. And I don't remember the exact time that it started. It was maybe, I don't know, around 11 a.m., something like that. And so we've had these before, and initially we were in sort of a, evacuation warning. So not a mandatory evacuation, but just an evacuation warning. And so we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. And then I went outside, and I could see smoke just right over the mountain from us, because this is just right over to the next canyon where Pacific Palisades is. I was like, whoa, this thing is close, man. I think we got to get out of here. And so I started packing everything up again. We hadn't really unpacked that much, fortunately, and just started throwing everything back in the car. So the other thing that they'll do in this area when they have these red flag warnings is they shut the power off, because what happens is you get these high winds, it'll knock down tree branches or trees that'll knock over power lines, and sparks will start fires. And so they just turn off the whole grid just to try and prevent a fire from happening. And so we were already planning on just leaving for this red flag time, because we weren't going to have any power. And we'd just be in our house in the dark, So we thought, let's go hang out somewhere else for a couple of days until this passes. But then, we got the evacuation notice. And so we packed up the car, and we went and picked up Sagan from school and evacuated. We were literally home for one day, and then got evacuated from our house because of these fires. And it's interesting, you learn a lot about how these fires work under these circumstances. And so in this case, the initial conditions were just unimaginably catastrophic and tragic for the folks in Pacific Palisades, because it started a bit north up the hill, and the winds are blowing towards the ocean, and it just blew this fire like a blowtorch down the mountain to the coastline and burned everything in its path. It's absolutely unbelievable what happened there. And fortunate for us at the time was that the wind was blowing towards the coast, which is towards the south from our house, and this fire was south of us. So it was blowing the fire away from our house initially. And so it did that for a couple of days and made its way all the way down the coast, and then started moving its way up along the coast, sort of east along the coast. The east-west thing's a little confusing because of the sort of shape of the coast here. And so then on Thursday, the winds died down, and what happens when the wind dies down is that the fires then go uphill. They like to burn uphill more so than downhill. And so it had already burned all along the coast below us, and when the winds died down, it just started making its way up the canyon. And so both Wednesday and Thursday, there's a way that at the time that you could sneak in this sort of back dirt road where you could get in, because they had shut down Topanga Canyon Boulevard. There's no way to just drive to our house the way we normally would. But you could sneak in there. So I went back there on Wednesday, grabbed a couple things, stupid stuff. It's absurd what you grab when when you think your house and everything in it might burn. It was just like, I think I'll grab this hat. We want this hat, and I want a train for Sagan. Like just these stupid things that don't matter at all. But I think you just do it just to say that you did or something. I don't know. Grabbed a couple things and left, and so we got ourselves settled in a hotel that was close to where Sagan's school would be, the sort of safe location for his school. And but of course, on Wednesday, and we had got set up there on Tuesday, but on Wednesday they just closed the school because of how crazy and devastating the fires were. Just like so many people were displaced, everything was totally chaotic, and so they just closed down the school. So no school on Wednesday. We're just hanging out in a hotel room. When I was there Wednesday, it was still smoky. I could see where the fire was, but it didn't feel super dangerous at that point. I went back again Thursday just to check on things one more time. We had already been getting reports earlier in the day that the fire had made its way up the canyon. And at this point, it was, in the canyon behind Topanga Lumber, which is not far from our house, probably, quarter mile, half mile from our house, just down the road from us. And then it started making its way up above us. And so when I was there, I had to have a mask on. It was super smoky. There's ash coming down like snow. And at this point, the firefighters had really kicked in because it was now starting to threaten homes in this area. And there was, I don't even know how many helicopters. There's probably 6, 7, 8 different helicopters flying directly over me and going and making drops on this fire, which is now just right up the hill from us. And it got super scary, and I was like, it's definitely time to get out of here. So I bailed out of there, and that was the night when we really thought for sure we were going to lose our house, because it was so close already at that point. And you go through this emotional roller coaster thing where you're checking your phone, like people are posting either on Instagram or Nextdoor, or there's this Topanga Canyon Emergency Preparedness website where they try and give all the most recent information. You're checking that, and there was a couple moments in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, where I saw a couple posts where people were talking about where the fire was, and I'm just like, that's it. Our house is gone. It's gone. There's no way. If that's where the fire is, like, our house must just be, it's just gone, And so you go through that all night, and then the next morning, we have a friend that lives further north than us, and one of the two of the couple stayed in the house and stayed through all of that craziness, and And so they were able to go to our house and just put eyes on it and let us know, is our house still there or not? And so we got confirmation somewhere near the afternoon that our house did not burn to the ground after Thursday night. And that was really, Thursday night was the night where that was the fight to save Topanga. But we're finally back, and so I was able to walk up above our house and get eyes on where this fire was in proximity to our house, and so you can check that out. Here it is. Okay, finally got home. I was able to hike up the hill and get my eyes on what happened here, and so I'm basically right at the spot where they stopped this fire. This is where it got to. Burned up this hill and almost got this house here. And our house is basically right behind those trees, right in the distance there. So yeah, that's where our house is. So it was right here. Our house is there. And these guys right there did an amazing job. I can't believe they stopped this thing here. It's an absolute miracle. And they saved all of these houses. There's houses all up in here, houses all over here. They stopped it right where all the houses start. And they put in this incredible fire break that I just hiked up to get to this spot. And it's amazing what they do in a short period of time. They carved out this like 15-foot wide break and all the trees and foliage all the way down the hill. It's totally unbelievable. And I think they did it all by hand. I don't think you could get bulldozer stuff on this hill. It's too steep. But yeah, we'll check that out. We still got hoses laid out, I guess. Just either they're just haven't had a chance to put them away yet, or they're just keeping them out just in case. There might still be some embers, hot spots, whatever. But it's not windy now, so a lot of the risk goes away when the wind dies down. It's just much easier for them to jump on it and manage it and stop it if a fire starts. The big problem, the thing that I learned this time around, is that when it gets really windy, like on Tuesday when there were winds that were gusting up to 100 miles an hour, actual hurricane force winds, they can't fly. So they can't fly the helicopters and the airplanes that drop the water and Phos-Chek powder, fire retardant. And if they can't do that, and it's that windy, there's just nothing they can do. The fire just burns. It's like a blowtorch that just blows its way down the mountain, in the direction that the wind blows. It's really, really terrifying. But here's the fire break that they created. Let's see what is the easiest way to go here. These aren't actual paths. Don't exactly have hiking shoes on. But I made it up, so I can probably make it down. And so I don't know if this all happened right before or in, that night, the night of the 7th. That's really when the area that I just showed that burned, that happened the night of the 7th. And so all of this here was all just overgrown with, it looked like that. And they cleared all of this out in a matter of a day or two or whatever. I'm not sure how long it took them, but it's unbelievable what they did. And so this side is sort of the uninhabited part of this hillside and the canyon. And this side is all houses. And so they created this break where if the fire burned up to this point, they could make a stand here and try and stop it. It's really, really impressive. And this terrain is really difficult to work on. It's pretty steep.
But there, you can just see they just carved this path all the way down the hill, all the way down past our house to try and stop this thing. It's amazing.
So, it got close, and that wasn't really the end of it. That Thursday night was really the fight to save Topanga, and but after that, so everything was still evacuated. They weren't letting anybody go home because there's still a fire burning in Topanga State Park, and now the fire is sort of up above our house, so it's still not really safe to be there. And then as it went into the next week, on Tuesday into Wednesday, there's another red flag warning. And so we're going to have like 50, 60 mile an hour winds. And, at this point, it could be really sketchy because the fire is now north of us and the Santa Ana winds blow south. And so if, it starts up in an area where there's a lot of dry foliage and trees and stuff, man, it's that same thing. They just wouldn't be able to stop it. And so we had to wait for that to pass. And it was another night, this like Tuesday, Wednesday time, just waiting to see, is our house going to burn down, So, you get through all of that. Wednesday and Thursday, it seemed like they managed to keep things under control. There were no new fires that started, and that was fine. And then we're starting to think like, well, maybe there's a chance we'll be able to go back. There's no more red flag warnings coming up. Might be able to get home. But then you got to wonder if your house has been robbed while you were gone, because what you do, the house that we that we live in here in Topanga does have a gate, and so but when there's a fire and you evacuate, you leave the gate open because if the firefighters need to get in, you got to make it easy for them to get in there and be able to protect your house if they need to do that. And so the house is just sitting, unsecured, the whole time. And I don't know if any of you have been following this, but there's just been tons of looting and even people, committing arson, starting fires so people will get evacuated so they can go rob houses. Yay, it's great. So it's just been this continuous roller coaster of just like, multiple rounds of maybe our house is going to burn down, all this. Is our house, what's going to be left in our house if it's still there, But we finally got back and didn't burn down, and it wasn't robbed. So we are incredibly lucky. And I think leading up to this, after our, really close brush with tragedy in New Orleans, and then arriving just to be evacuated and almost have our house burned down, and when we were waiting to, I was like, is our family just like fucking cursed or something? Like what the fuck is going on? This is insane. And I think I've sort of changed my feeling about it. And I think we're actually the luckiest family ever after just being that close to, these really, really horrifying events. But being able to escape unharmed and, with our home and all this stuff, which so many people can't say at this point. The statistics on this fire are just staggering. It's unbelievable what's happened. So there's the Palisades fire. That's the one that almost burned down our house. But there was also this Eaton fire, which was up in Altadena, near Pasadena, up above Pasadena. And between those two fires, over 10,000 structures burned to the ground. So 10,000 houses, businesses, schools. I even heard a fire department burned down. Like they just couldn't stop it, Yeah, this is just, it's at a scale of devastation that's just never happened here before. It's really unbelievable. And there's a lot of people that are really, really hurting. I'm going to put a couple links for anybody that feels compelled to donate or whatever, try and help. People really need it. We're gonna, we've accumulated a bunch of duplicate stuff, just household stuff, and we're just gonna take it all, just give it away to people. This is the time to do that sort of thing. People have lost everything. They literally have nothing. They, especially in the Palisades, because that fire came on so fast. It was just all they could do to get out of there with their lives, And I think the tally is like 27 people have died in these fires. That's an unbelievable number. It's crazy. And so yeah, we'll do whatever we can to help a little bit, to try and help folks out, because we're so grateful that we were spared this time around. Maybe next time we won't be so lucky. Who knows? And at the end of the day, I'm just happy my family's safe, that we're still together, and still have each other. Because, man, it's really, really scary the way this stuff goes down. Okay, so that's the whole fire thing. We're lucky, we're grateful. Our heart goes out to all the people that have lost homes or lost lives. It's just unbelievably devastating. So now about what's going to happen with this channel. I know a lot of people are waiting for this Semi-Charmed Life episode. It is edited. I had the editor went through and edited everything. I like to just watch through it, and I do some little tweaks, so that all that is done. All I have to do is just record just a couple little things to sort of connect the different sections. This thing is going to be in 3 parts. It's 3.5 hours long, 3.5 hours of Semi-Charmed Life. So if you ever wanted to learn anything about the song Semi-Charmed Life, this is your chance. You will know everything there is to know. And so there's an initial just chat between Stephen Jenkins and I. I just sort of revealed it, is the special guest. And so we talk about how we originally met, how I got involved in the project, all the sort of early stuff of the band doing demos and getting signed and all that. I was there for all of that. So we talk about that. And then we pull up the multi-track master, and Stephen and I go through and selectively pull some stuff out. He remembers details that I don't, that are really cool, and so we just give our recollections about how some of this stuff was captured, what was happening in the moment, what was used, all that stuff. And then the third part is me recreating and trying to beat the original mix with my current mix setup in Vermont. This is all done in Vermont. And so you will be able to be the judge and see if you think I beat it or not. But either way, it was super fun to do. I love the original mix. It was a great mix. I do believe that there was room for improvement, and I tried my best to bring that out. But the whole thing was really, really fun to do. It was amazing to pull up those tracks again. That was a time and project and opportunity to have like a real no compromises experience recording something. It's really what Stephen wanted, and we had the resources and opportunity to do it. It's really what I enjoyed doing. We talk about it a little bit in the discussion, just sort of the concept behind what we were chasing on that recording. And I think it is reflected in what was captured. Like just the raw tracks, when you pull them up, are, a lot of care and thought went into what was captured on that song. So it was fun to dig through it again, and I'm excited to share it. So my life has just been upside down, for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, we've been living out of cars and hotel rooms ever since we left Vermont. It's just been insane, with my son and a dog, And so it's like every day is spent just trying to figure out where you're going to stay next. Like, should we go back home? Are they going to let us home? Are they not going to let us home? Is our house going to burn down? Like, it's just been nuts. So finally, I think we can actually really officially say that our house has survived this round of firestorms. I'm sure this won't be the last. And things should be, calm for a while. They're still not letting people up here unless you're a resident, unless you can prove that you're a resident and show your address with a photo ID. It's the only way we were able to get up here. They almost didn't let Grace up because she has a Vermont driver's license without this address on it. And, there's some, convincing exchanges to try and make that happen. They finally let us up. And so I think I can finally get settled in and start doing what my vision is for here. When I'm not in Vermont and I'm not in this glorious new studio that I built, what I want to do is start working on this whole series of videos that I'm super excited about that I'm going to call The Most from the Least. And so I intentionally brought almost nothing from Vermont. I have my laptop, I have an audio interface, and we'll see which one I use. I'm going to experiment a little bit. I have an Antelope one, and I have a Universal Audio one. So I'm going to tinker around with that a little bit. And I'm going to borrow some stuff from friends. So I'll get a little drum set here, get some other pieces, and I'm going to try and make recordings in this room with a laptop and just challenge myself and see, like, what can I get out of this without all of my fancy, expensive, vintagey, whatever stuff, And I'm excited about it. And I think it may be more useful, and try and uncover some ways to get things to sound the way they do, or to, sound the way I'm used to them sounding with all of the expensive stuff without using it. So I know my ears are going to want to gravitate there, and I'm going to chase it and try and see if I can make it happen with nothing. And so it'll be super fun. So I think things are going to settle down now. I'll be able to get into that and start making that happen and start putting up some videos that are along those lines. So thank you for all your patience. It's just been a crazy time, and I'm excited to get back into this and try and just have a little bit of normalcy in our lives here. But thank you for hanging in there, and I will post stuff as soon as I possibly can. All right, thanks.